It is no exaggeration to say that today we celebrate the life of an extraordinary man, a man who tirelessly served the world in hierarchy with great intelligence, kindness, impeccable integrity, and delectable humor. A man who in difficult, often bleak times kindled and rekindled lasting hope in the hearts and minds of millions. A man who worked for justice and peace, whose voice was always one of reason and sanity, and a man who also left behind an incomparable artistic legacy. I'll draw your attention to this painting, Chalice, in the background color. This was painted, I believe, sometime in the 1970s. And if you happen to have seen the Hubble telescope photographs, because it said this is the background color of space. And on many of the Hubble telescope photos that have come in the past 10 years or so, this is the background color of space. So how could that be?
Chalice. This image represents the cosmic spiritual heart center, from which flows the energy we call love. I think the greatest compliment I've ever been paid, in terms of recognition of the expressive power of my paintings, is when someone saw this painting, knew nothing about it, had never seen it before, and said, "I don't know why, but that to me represents the Christ." The Christ, we know, is the Lord of love. He embodies the energy of love, and it would appear, at least to her, seeing the original oil painting, which is about 8 feet high and 6 feet wide, that something about this picture does convey the energy of love. I saw it in a very profound state. What I saw was space, endless, infinite space of the background colour. In that space, a colossal shape which was made of blue and white fire was moving constantly, and yet, at the same time, held its shape. It is a hard thing to describe, and a very hard thing to do, to take a moving, flaming object which is constantly changing its form, and yet retains its form, and convey that on a flat, two-dimensional surface, in such a way as to render the image and impact of that colossal cosmic force. In the centre is a molten golden fire from which poured out the energy of love. In the experience, one felt absolutely clearly and definitely the energy of love, which is embodied on this planet by the Christ. To me, of course, and I'm sure this is true for all painters, this is a pale reflection of the reality I saw in the inner state of meditation and with the inner eye. As is all painting, it is a convention, a sign, but hopefully, too, a symbol of that cosmic reality.
Well, I'll go out on a limb here and say that you would have to go back hundreds of years to find an artist who had the consciousness stabilized on the spiritual planes and could raise it to the Buddhic level and could receive the messages from the Master, or could receive rapidly a vision of a painting without distortion. It would be, given the importance of these symbols, it would be critically important that they not be distorted. So there has been no one for many hundreds of years, I believe, with the consciousness between the third and fourth initiation, who could have done that. He's really the first in a very long time.
The studio occupies the whole of the top floor of the house. And there he has everything he needed for his painting, for the group work, easels, canvases, brushes, paints, tools for stretching canvases, books, papers, everything he needed.
The studio was the inspiration of my master. He suggested doing it. He had me one day go up. We had a ceiling, 3 rooms here and a ceiling, and there was a little sort of door in the ceiling where you lift it. And he said, "Go up there with a torch and look around." And so I went up, and He said, yes, this could work. He said, this really could work. Let me see, you know, and he was calculating if we put that where the light would fall, how high up it, you see it doesn't come right up to there. You see that it's lighter there than above.
Yeah.
He said, that should be right. And he talked to me while I'm looking, you see, with the torch. And he sees this through my eyes. And so I said, yeah, this is what you should do, you know. You could make a marvelous studio up here.
He was ordinary and amazing at the same time. And he was always the same. He was really, I think, the most authentic person I've ever known. And I'm very grateful to have had that life with him.
As a child, I loved to visit Ben's studio at the top of our house with all the sort of light and space and giant paintings around the place, and with the smell of oils and canvas and turpentine, and it's still there, and it's still very similar to this day.
Okay, so maybe they'd like to see this one first before this. It's true. That was the one.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Standing alongside Krim's prophetic message of the Avatar, the coming one, with his lifelong love of art, his esoteric painting period, begun in 1964, stands as a unique and powerful interpretation of the theosophical ideas which had been introduced to the art world by artists such as Kandinsky, Mondrian, Malevich, and Klee. Through the aid of his own master, Krim's paintings explore altogether new levels, demonstrating a significant depth of understanding of esotericism, expanding upon the artistic work of the early theosophically inspired pioneers. Using art to express abstract esoteric ideas, Benjamin Krim brought down into physical plane expression that which hitherto had remained in the world of ideas and ideals. Through meditation, contemplation, and study, his symbolic paintings make esoteric concepts more accessible to the mind, leading the viewer into a greater understanding of the complex information and relationships that make up the Ageless Wisdom tradition. About this tradition, Krim himself has said, esotericism might be described as the philosophy of the evolutionary process in man and the lower kingdoms in nature. It is neither solely an art, nor a science, nor is it a religion, but partakes of something of all of these. It is the science of the accumulated wisdom of the ages, but dynamic rather than academic in its application in our lives from day to day. It presents a systematic and comprehensive account of the energetic structure of the universe and of man's place within it, and it describes the forces and influences that lie behind the phenomenal world. It is also the process of becoming aware of and gradually mastering these forces.
Have you seen
You can't do more, you can't do more.
And it's
Have a name for it?
It's called Within the
light in the
Gates.
window?
It was done in 1964, 65, and you'll see it'll be on the cover of Share International
Yeah, I saw that.
for this coming year.
What is
And
the name
it's
of
slightly different from that because I have touched a bit here and a bit there and done a little this and a little that. So the shape's a little bit, it's about the 3 initiations
There.
which
That's it, right.
cover the bringing of the vehicles, the physical, the astral and the mental vehicles into synchronous activity. And then when they're synchronized, then the soul can work perfectly through, or better through it. That leads to the 4th initiation.
so those are the first 3.
These are
That's the
first.
gate.
This is really, the 3rd is from the Master's point of view, the 1st initiation. The first 2 are only sort of preparatory, aligning initiations. But the third one is the first soul initiation. So depends how you look at it. And it's like this. This is the first. These are the 2 second. And there's 3 together, like within the gates. You know, you've got 1 in the gate, 2 in the gate, 3 in the gate.
The Benjamin Creme Museum invites you to see this powerful, groundbreaking art located in Pacific Palisades, California, in the foothills of the Santa Monica Mountains. This intimate museum displays a representative sample of Creme's art with a particular emphasis toward his esoteric painting period. Ben's idea for the museum was that one day it would become a cultural center. He did not want the museum to be static. He did not want just the same art displayed over, every time they came in, there'd be same paintings, same paintings, same paintings. He wanted it to be a place of living. He wanted art and music and food and wine and discussions. He wanted it to be a living place. And we hope one day to get to the size where we can do such things, and we have the public coming in those numbers, and we've been very successful. We've had a lot of public come. The reaction of the public to Ben's esoteric art is truly extraordinary. We have had so many people walk into the museum and freeze and say, "What is this?" And we've had one woman say, "This is big." And that's a very common reaction, The energy is saturated, the museum is saturated with the energy of this art. And we've been very blessed to see these reactions, and we think it bodes very well for the future of the museum. Ben had said, "The day will come when you will not believe the lines." And we hope this is the first of 2 museums. We hope one day there's a more significant one in a sister organization in London that puts together a museum where his other paintings can be seen and shared. Thank you.
To the esotericist, an artist is someone who attunes himself to the vibration of reality and gives that expression. Without expression, there would be no art. Art, all painting, is a convention. The painter does not deal with flesh and blood, sinew and bones. He works with forms and colours, usually on a flat surface, and creates an artificial thing, either a sign or a symbol. People say, "I don't understand this painting." What they really mean is, "I don't recognize the image or sign." When people said, "I don't understand what this is about," Picasso would say, "Do you understand the song of a bird? A painter paints like a bird sings, and it is as direct an expression of his experience as the song of a bird is for the bird."